Hey everybody, welcome to WooGuitarLessons.com. Today we're going to be learning our first guitar chord, and the chord is an A minor, which sounds like this. Okay? That's what the chord sounds like. This chord then, to play the chord, we're going to be using a couple of different fingers. We're going to be using our index finger, our middle finger and our ring finger. So 3 different fingers. They're all going to be on different strings on the first and the second frets. We're going to be playing 5 strings, but we're going to try to not hit the 6th string when we play this chord, okay? So there's quite a few different things going off with this chord. If you look beneath the video, I've got the tab for you as well, just so you can see it sort of visually. I'll explain how to and where to put your fingers. So what we're going to do is put our index finger onto fret 1, string number 2. So there. Remember, always use the tips of your fingers. Don't don't ever lay your fingers down flat. Curl them under. Use the tips. So we're going to put one finger on there. Then your middle finger goes onto fret 2, string number 4, and then finally our ring finger onto fret 2, string number 3. And what we're going to do then, as with all our chords, before we start to play them or strum them, just go down the strings and pick all the strings and make sure that each note is ringing nice and cleanly, okay? You don't want to hear any muted notes. And also, before we do that, if you have a look, I've got my little finger. We're not using that, so I've just kind of got it tucked at the side. It's quite a natural position. It just kind of hangs next to my ring finger out of the way there. As I said, I think in my previous lessons, if you can do, it's okay to sort of have your thumb rested at the top. If your hands are smaller, all you need to do is put your thumb on the back of the neck and bring your arm further under, and you should hopefully be able to reach. Okay, so that's the position. So like I said then, if we just pick all the notes, like I said though, we're not going to be playing string 6, because if you look at the guitar tab, there's no note written on that, there's no number on that line. So that means we don't have to play that string, but we do want to play strings 5 and 1 open. Okay, so if we play 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1. Okay, so that's an A minor. That's what the chord sounds like. Now, if yours sounded like that, that's great. If you've got any problems, if you're muting any notes, so if I accidentally mute one of these notes, you'll hear what I mean. Okay, so you hear that? It's supposed to sound like that, nice and clean, but it's muted. So what we're going to do is take a look at our fretting hand and sort of see what's going off there, see what the problem is. If I spin my hand around slightly, if you look there, you can see with my index finger it's laid down slightly on string 2. So what I'm actually doing is accidentally touching the thin E string with this part of my finger there. And that's, like I said, that's because my finger's laid sort of down a little bit too much. What we need to do is just, I'll bring my hand under and make sure I use the tips of my fingers. And now if you look, there's a slight gap there. You see that gap? So now I'm no longer touching string 1. And when I play it, it rings out like it should do, okay? So that's one of the issues you might have with this chord. Readjust your fingers so you're not muting any and play it again. Okay, so now I've got string 1 ringing cleanly. If for whatever reason, say string 2 wasn't ringing, like that, that might be that this finger here, your ring finger, again if you're not using the tips of your fingers, it might slightly be touching string 2 beneath it, okay? So again, if my hand's like that, I'm muting the strings. So use the tips of your fingers, curl your hand under slightly, really use the tips, and sounds nice, okay? So that's A minor then. So what I want you to do is, like I said, just pick each note and then just play the chord. Then just strum it once or twice. Like I said, try not to hit string 6, but don't worry, in the next lesson what I'm going to do is show you a bit of like a trick or a technique you can use to mute any strings that you don't want to hear, okay? So in that position now then, what I want you to do is just take off your fingers, give them a bit of a rub, shake out the sort of shape, and then just try and put them back on. So index finger goes on to fret 1, string number 2, middle finger, fret 2, string 4, and your ring finger, fret 2, string 3, and do the same. So pick them through, they sound alright, and then we play it. Okay, again, and all I want you to do now is just try and do that, 4 or 5 times, and then eventually what you're going to want to try and do is, rather than putting one finger on and then another and another, you're going to want to just come from nothing, so come from just like an open hand shape and just try and put them on straight away. So you can see that before I even get there, my fingers aren't even touching the strings yet, but I've formed that basic shape already because I know the shape I want to go to, okay? So my hands are open, bring them in, and I've almost formed that shape already, okay? So, I know that's sort of taking things maybe a little bit too far. All I want you to do for the time being is just take them off, and it's okay to put a finger on at a time. But if you do get quite good at that, if you practice this 5 or 10 minutes, a day, just for a few days, once you've got good at that shape, you can just put your hand straight, put your fingers straight on, okay? And like I said earlier, I just happen to have my thumb rested at the top because my hands are quite large. If you've got smaller hands, just bring your thumb to the back of the neck. It's okay, it's okay to plant it on the back of the neck like that, and just bring your hand up and under, and that should help you reach. Okay, then, so that's the A minor chord, and if you watch the next lesson, we'll just keep that same chord and we'll do, we'll practice that strumming pattern that we learnt in a previous lesson.